Views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got my trusty teammate on the line. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. We don't have Jenna tonight. She's on vacation. She is visiting her awesome niece, Missy, and her great nephew. Hi, Weston.
Hi.
He is a Bigfoot lover, that is for sure. I love listening to Weston tell me all about what Bigfoot is or what he thinks Bigfoot is. That's always fun. So I just want to send a huge shout out to Weston. Hi, Weston. We should have him on the show sometime. Let's make that happen, Jenna, out there in vacation land. All right. So we have an awesome show for you guys tonight. Just got to tell you, I was recently up on my home reservation in Minnesota, the Red Lake Band, and I ran into my good friend, NikkiJourdain, who told me some recent Bigfoot reports from the area. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are awesome. Please, 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 won't you come on the show and share those stories? And she said, yes. So welcome to the show, Nikki. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited you could join us tonight. Yes. So you're so fortunate to live up there. It's so beautiful. And I just get so jealous every time I go up there and just go, oh, it's so beautiful and natural up here. Someday I'm going to retire there and go fishing.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. My grandpa taught me how to fish when I was old enough to hold the pole. I was not even 2 years old and I was fishing and I was already out fishing him. So he said that was the Red Laker in me. So
Awesome.
so yeah, yeah. So, Nikki used to be on the team. She was a she squatcher back in the day, and then life got busy for her, and she couldn't be with us anymore. But she's been on some awesome adventures with us when we found our first footprints and uh, that one really fun structure that we found in the woods. And I nicknamed her Climbing Bear because she looked like a bear climbing up this unclimbable hill. So yeah, yeah, it was good times, good times. But we'll have to get together again soon out there. Um, anyway, so would you like to tell me a little bit first about how you got interested in Bigfoot in the beginning?
Sure. I think like when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of like paranormal stuff on TV at all. Maybe in October, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like today when you could have Bigfoot shows and UFO shows, and it was really few and far between. But I remember being a kid and it was like October, and the TV channel started like sharing um more paranormal scary type stuff, and I saw this Bigfoot documentary, and it was the first time I seen it, and it was um the really famous sightings and things like that. And I don't know, I've just been interested in it ever since then, being really young, and now there's so much information out there. There's so many groups, there's so much research going on. I just love it. I just think it's so great. um, I do have some ideas about what Bigfoot is, or could be. I know that you do too. And yeah, I don't know. It's just so interesting to me.
Well, we're here to find out what other people are thinking and feeling and about Bigfoot. So I'd love to hear your ideas on what Bigfoot is.
I think for the longest time I thought, just kind of at a scientific level, that it was an animal that just hasn't been like discovered yet. And I thought that for a very long time, until I started meeting people, native people, that gave me kind of different ideas. One of the things, I used to live in Montana, and one of the things I learned out there is that Bigfoot actually shows up a lot when they go on their vision quests.
Oh,
And without, talking about somebody's specific vision, um, that was the first time I heard that, somebody was fasting and meditating and being in their sweat, for a vision. And there were like 3 of them that showed up. And the guy, he kind of got a little scared of it, but they told him, no, that's what, they're there to show you, like a truth or something like that. Like, don't be afraid of them. Like, they're not scary. They're like spirit guides almost. And that was the first time I had heard that. I'd never heard that. And I heard that a few times after. I heard that in Sweat, in Red Lake. And I heard that when I was talking to a friend of mine on the reservation about Bigfoot. And they were like, well, you can't really catch him because he's a spirit. He's always been a spirit, and native people have known that forever. So it's not like you're going to find like a Bigfoot body or something, because he's not a physical thing. Um, so that gets me thinking, like maybe it's not just an animal out in the woods. Maybe it's something different.
okay. Yeah. Well, I haven't heard of him showing up at a vision quest before, but I'm curious, did he show up as a physical being or as in spirit?
Um, in that specific vision, I believe that they said that the 3 of them were right outside the teepee that they were doing the sweat in, and these are Lakota people, um,
Right.
and so they were right outside, and there were 3 of them, and they were there like physically, and that's kind of why the person got like scared a little bit of where it was going and what was happening.
Oh, definitely. That would be unsettling. That would be unsettling. I remember one time when I went up for the sweat in Panema, just prior to that, the sweat before, there had been a bear outside that was shaking on, like was pushing on the sweat lodge during the sweat.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh wow." And my elder, he said, bonjour Makwa. He goes, and he's like, I'm your clan.
Right.
Don't hurt us. I'm your clan. And and so I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, what would I do if the bear was pushing on the sweat lodge when I was in there? That never
Mhm.
happened, but happened when I was in a tent.
Right.
But I didn't have any food. He was just looking for food, so he just moved along. But yeah, the bears up there seem pretty tame to me compared to other places, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, yeah. I've been wondering about them too. Like, I know that they get some trash compactors up the garbage dump up there. Did that change how much food was available for them?
I think it did at first. It was
Okay.
like at first it was really clean and everything, and people were doing it. It was a trash compactor where you could put your trash in and then press a button and actually like compact it. but people started like leaving the door open, and then these bears figured out how to open the door.
They're so
And
smart.
so it's kind of back to the way it was. They drag the garbage out, they eat it, and there's just bears everywhere. Around all the garbage bin areas. But I would say it's a little better than just the open bins that we had.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad when I heard about the trash compactors. I was worried for the bears.
Yeah. Yeah, there were instances of people like opening up the door and there's a bear sitting in there.
Oh my gosh.
But
That
nobody would, like compact it or anything.
would be awful.
That's
Yeah, like, people are really respectful of bears here,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, they are. I know most people up there are Bear Clan. So the bears live long, happy lives up there.
And like where I live, close to Panema, it's called Makwambe, and that word is like Makwa and Ambe, meaning there's always a lot of bears that come here. And
Yep.
it's true that like we have bears all the time.
That's so crazy. I know Vicky was posting lives on her Facebook. This bear kept going into the feed for her ducks and geese. She's like, "Go away. He's eating it all." And the ducks and the geese kept going up to the house all nervous because the bear's in their area eating their food. Yeah. I have a question in the chat room already. Sherry's asking, are Pukwudgies spirit or physical interdimensional? I know of some friendly to me ones.
That could you speak a little bit on the interdimensional? I know that you and I had talked about that before, and I thought that was really interesting.
Interdimensional would be like literally walking between worlds. So if you were a physical being here and then stepping into the spirit world or into another dimension world outside of our sight of vision here, but still in the same type of space, but in a different dimension.
Yeah, see that's really interesting, and that kind of makes sense. With how Bigfoot is like so elusive.
Yeah, yeah. There was some elders from the Turtle Mountains who told me that Bigfoot is a physical being, but he can travel through the ground instantaneously from one place to another physically. And I was like, okay, well, like, are you talking about running through a tunnel really fast or, from one place to another? And she said, no. And she's like, it's like instantaneous physical travel from one place to the next place instantly. And the more she talked about it, the more I said, are you talking like a portal? Where they just like basically beam me up, Scotty, right from one place to the next? And she said, yeah. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so to me, that would be maybe also interdimensional travel if they're using that interdimensional space to move
Mm-hmm.
between physical places. What do you think, Tammy? Do you think that's what that would be?
Well, can you hear me?
Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I've been actually doing some research, and I'm not quite ready to share everything that I've been looking into. But what are your thoughts about, instead of it just being a portal, it just being an alternate dimension? Like, we are in third density. And from some of the information that I have been coming across, it seems to me that they are more fourth, fifth, and sixth density entities. And the reason that they are seen here is because they can manifest in third density, but they have to concentrate on it. And that is why they disappear so quickly when they get seen, because it breaks their concentration and it takes them out of our density. What are your thoughts on that?
Nikki, what do you think?
I think that sounds really like plausible. I've actually seen something, a Bigfoot show where they were talking about, possibly being in those other dimensions, fourth, fifth, sixth. I thought it was really interesting, but they didn't elaborate too much on it. But I understand, like, being like in the third dimension. It's a little bit hard to imagine the fourth dimension, and almost impossible to imagine what anything higher than that would look like.
Very good point.
Until we figure that out, maybe we're close to doing that. I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if, okay, so I know a lot about fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh dimension consciousness. Tammy, do you think that's the same as fourth, fifth, sixth dimension?
I do. I think that they are actually alternate dimensions that we can access through our consciousness.
Okay. So from what I understand about fourth dimension consciousness is the Earth is supposedly moving into that as a whole. And that means that time of manifestation of itself moves more quickly in fourth dimension consciousness. It just looks the same as third dimension, but everything just moves a little bit more quickly as far as manifesting. And then fifth dimension is like instantaneous manifesting, and sixth gets even more crazy, I guess. So I think that as human people that some of us have experienced fourth and fifth dimensions consciousness already. I know I have, and not someplace that I would stay. I think I have to maintain a level of an energy frequency to be there. It's more like an energy frequency rather than a focus. So for me, I
concentrate to do it. And if you break your concentration, then you lose it.
I didn't have to concentrate to do it. I had to be not scared. As soon as I had more of a third density emotion, the frequency of my own frequency came down. So a third dimension emotion would be something sad or because emotions are more like a magnetic energy. So it draws those things that you're feeling sad about to you. In fourth dimension consciousness, it would come to you faster. So it's more of a protection mode to go back into third dimension consciousness so you don't draw it to you so fast. So because it's in our nature to be worried people. I struggle not to worry about things sometimes when it's overwhelming, and I for the most part do pretty well. But like yesterday I had car repairs going on and I was like all worried about it and trying really hard not to be.
I do.
I'm like,
give anything any energy to become the things that you fear.
Yes, exactly, because I know how that works, but still, I had those little fears coming in there and it was playing havoc with me. So nobody's perfect yet, especially not me. But I worked really hard on focusing on what I wanted the outcome to be, and that's what they told me today. So that was good. It was still a high bill, but at least it wasn't worse. So that was what I was worried about. So anyway, we should get back to that. So I do think that interdimensional yes, dimensional consciousness, but it is a frequency. And so when people do the meditating and they work on themselves and they focus on the positives and when you feel positive emotions that match the thinking that you're having, that is when you draw it to yourself faster. And so the higher your own energy frequency is, the faster that happens into the higher dimensions of consciousness. And, my native elder up in Panema told me that my family, my ancestors could walk through stone and transport instantaneously from one place to the other, physical travel, and that my family used to be the ones that would trade with the Hopi down south. We'd take the goods down there. And he said that one time they were down there doing that, and the Hopi never knew how we got down there. and they were leaving, and the people turned around to wave goodbye, and just in time to see them walk right through the stone. And he said they never stopped talking about it after that. And he always encouraged me to do it. He says, if I could do it, it's in my DNA, it's in my memory, it's in my memory to be able to do that. You know, you can remember what your ancestors knew. And so he was always encouraging me to do that. And it sounded so fantastical to me. You know, that could be a possible thing that I could do. But yet I want to believe that. And I should still keep trying, right? I should.
Hence the reason that you search so fervently for those portal signs on.
Yes, I can barely hear you though. I do search for portal signs, like I look for petroglyphs that are signs of portals, because I do think that they're marking areas where that's an energy source for that. So yeah, I do look for that stuff, don't I?
Yeah.
I do.
Have you ever talked about that kind of vortex area that we went to on the reservation here in the trees?
Where we found the den-like structure.
Yeah.
You know, that was a weird thing, because when I went back there again, with Jenna and Larry, it was in mid to late October, and I knew exactly where it was. I had the GPS coordinates of where it was, and I walked right up to it, and we looked at it, and none of us thought that it was it. We were so confused. But we were looking right, it was the same structure. We were looking at it and go, that's not it. That's not, we must be in the wrong spot. And I kept walking around. And then we walked around the whole area, and I came up from behind it, wasting like lots of time, feeling compelled to walk deeper and deeper into the forest when you know it was only like 75 feet off the trail. And and then when I came up behind it from the back side, it was like the spell was lifted off of me, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Why didn't I think this is it? This looks just, I mean, it didn't look different. It was just the weirdest thing that all three of us thought that this wasn't it. And then now it's getting dark. And so we bring out the equipment for that, and everything started dying like right away. Like it got zapped. Everything went dead. Even my big flashlight that's supposed to have months charge on it went dead right away. And we just got a little bit of video stuff going on, and everything was dead. So Larry walked back to the car, which was parked further up the trail than where we had parked, Nikki. It was a ways up further.
Mm-hmm.
And so then all of a sudden everything was dead except for these two little headlamps that I had in my pack, and a little bit of 13% charge on my cell phone. And every time I turned off the light of my cell phone, there was movement all around us in the leaves, because the leaves were on the ground, and you could hear something like walking closer to us. And then I turned the light back on and it would stop. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And you know, you just felt like something was coming in closer every time we turned off the light, because we couldn't see much with those little headlamps. And yeah, it was kind of intense. And there was like an anomaly that we caught on the video, on the night vision video camera, that just, it looked like a piece of a slice of pie that was made out of light. So it was a triangle piece of pie that flew from where Jenna and I were standing towards Larry, and it went right past him really fast. And this is like late October, so there were no bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very clearly just a triangle, looks like a slice of pie out of light, that flew right past him from us.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that was right before his stuff died. And he went back to the truck. And then in the end, we had to call him for help because we couldn't find the trail with the little headlamps that we had on. We couldn't find it. It was so dark. And so, yeah, I mean, it was definitely different energy there. What do you think caused that, Nikki?
I definitely think that you were close to something maybe a portal. Maybe that was, an area where they do that travel. And that was interesting that you heard stuff when the lights were out, when it was like pitch dark in the woods. And it's like, how do you not be scared, at that type of thing? How do you stifle fear in a moment like that?
I was kind of scared because I'm like, that's creepy that it's like you can't see anything. There's nothing moving. And as soon as the light turns off, stuff starts moving around you,
Yeah.
and because, you can't not hear movement in those leaves on the ground in late October. I mean, that's really loud.
Mm-hmm.
And, as soon as I turn the lights on, it all stops. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so, and I'm running out of juice on my phone, so I can't keep it on. And yeah, it was, I don't know, Jenna doesn't have that fear trigger in her anymore. And I'm not afraid to say I got a little scared,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the dark, you know. It would have been better for me to think that they were bears. I wouldn't have been scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
But something sneaking up on you in the dark, that seemed scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Something that could see me that I couldn't see. And it wasn't that far away either. So yeah. Is there anybody talking about like the vortex or portals or different energy back there in the woods back there?
Um, not that I've met. People used to come to me and like tell me their ghost stories. I'm not sure why people do that. I like that people do that. But I've just kind of been, I've been home for a while and not really haven't been out in the community too much this whole summer. I just stayed home, with Lily and our family, and just kind of hung out at home. But um, I think if you had one of those um like those town hall meetings that you used to have, and actually that's where I first met you, was at
Yes.
a town hall meeting, I think in Bemidji. um I think if you had one of those up here, you might get some good stories about you know the different things in the different communities, because the different communities have different stories.
That's a great idea. Maybe we should set something up like that for this winter when it's storytelling time.
Yeah, exactly. Once the snow's on the ground, you can do that.
Yeah, let's do something like that this winter. That's a great idea. Where do you
Okay.
think we could have it at? Should we do it at like where do you think we should do that at?
Well, there's a lot of new community centers. I think every community has a brand new community center, but they're still building Panimas.
Mm-hmm.
So, Little Rock has one, Red Lake has one, Red Bee has one. I think any of those would work.
Awesome. Well, let's work on that for the winter. We'll have Bigfoot storytelling.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be fun. Now have something to look forward to this winter when it's so cold.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're coming up on the break in less than a minute and a half, so I don't want to get into your storytelling quite yet. So we're going to do that after the break. But yeah, I'm really excited for Tammy to hear the stories that you told me at the powwow. I was like, oh my gosh. And when I was leaving, I was looking for that area where you told me that it was,
Mhm.
where that happened, and there was two places that I saw that might have been it, and I'll talk to you off the air about that, which one it could have been.
Mhm.
One had an older modular home and one had a newer modular home, which one was on the right side going out of, and one was on the left
Yeah, it's definitely the right side one.
with the older one.
Hmm.
Okay, then I know exactly where that happened. Awesome. So I was keeping an eye out for that so I could figure out where that happened. So with that being said, I think we're going to take the time and go to our commercial break. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to be right back with Nikki Jourdain with stories from the reservation. Thank you. All right. So we should be clear. Let me go in to see Sarge here so I can look for his go. All right. Doing good. I knew we'd be good on time.
Sorry, I'm just trying to fix this.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps when you hold it closer to your mouth. You might need a new thingy.
I might need new headphones.
Yeah. Might need new ones.
Can't really
Yeah.
complain. I've had these for over a year, so they cost me like $10.
Yeah, I get those cheap ones at Walmart for like $5.88. Them at work. So yeah, coolness. It's finally cooling down in here.
It's actually been pretty cool here. It's only 62 degrees outside now.
Nice.
Yeah, we got the heat on over here.
I have the air on right now because I am on fire and it's cool outside. I don't know why it's so hot in here.
Oh, your energies. Your awesomeness.
My awesomeness?
Yes.
Yeah, that's got to be it. For sure. I think this is the first time I wore my new glasses on the show. My bling. All right. Should be soon. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show. And hey, we're the She Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at shesquatchers.com? You can click on our events page to see where we're going to be. We're going to be in Washington State towards the later part of October for the Yakima Valley Bigfoot Con. And we are the headlining speakers at that event. We're going to be there for an entire week. And so we're going to be touring the area and checking everything out. And I heard, somebody told me, that we get to go and visit Bob Glimmerland's ranch for a day because he lives up there. I am so excited. And then there's an area nearby there where Bigfoot has been spotted and interacted with. So we're going to go look for Bigfoot near Bob Gimlin's house. How awesome is that?
Wow.
I'm super excited. And it's being hosted by the Yakima Reservation. So, and most of the speakers are women. And so it's pretty awesome. We've got some awesome company out there. I'm really excited to be there. And I've been hearing lots of people say they're going to come and see us there. So I hope everybody who can will meet us in Toppenish, Washington at the Yakima Valley Bigfoot Conference in the later part of October next month. Next week, we have Sean Wendling, I think is his last name, is going to join us. He's going to be going on an expedition with us the week after. So we're going to use next week as an opportunity to get to know him on the show. But for right now, I'm going to invite you to come and subscribe to our YouTube channel at She Squatchers Official. And also please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And back to the show, we've got NikkiJourdain from the Red Lake Indian Reservation in northern Minnesota, my home area. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, Nikki's coming to tell us stories of Bigfoot reports and other things at the reservation. So let's get back into that, Nikki, so we can hear those awesome stories. Would you please tell us about the happenings up there?
Okay, so the one that I had mentioned to you, and I was so excited when I got this story. I was like, I got to tell Jen. As soon as I heard it, and I heard it maybe a week prior to me telling you. And it was from my neighbor, and it was something that happened over last winter, and it might have been December or January. when we had the really cold, 40 below wind chill snap, we had it for about a week. It was during that time. And so I'll I'll just tell her story as she told it to me, because she gave me permission to share it.
Okay.
So she was at home, and her home is set back kind of away from the road, and she has a really big yard, and it's just kind of, the yard is empty, and there's actually an old mobile home parked in their yard, and they don't even know who put that there, but that wasn't there at the time. So it was just a yard full of snow and a snowy driveway, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and she was sleeping. Everyone was asleep, and she got up, I think, to like use the bathroom, and she heard a woman crying, like sobbing, like really, really, really sad sobbing. And at first she thought, okay, well, maybe my daughter and her boyfriend are fighting or something like that. So she kind of peeked in their bedroom, but they were asleep. And she heard it, and it sounded kind of like it was coming from outside. And her granddaughter woke up, and she went, they're standing in the dark hallway, on the second floor of their house, like, what's going on? And she said, Grandma, who's crying? And she was like, I don't know. And so she went to like the picture window on the second floor of a split level, and she looked out, and right at the edge of the plowed area, I guess, like right out front of her house, she thought she seen something, and her first thought was like it was a tree, but she knew there wasn't a tree in her front yard. It's just grass. Um, and then she realized that it was like a person standing there. And so she was looking out the window at this person in the dark, and the the light, she had a light next to her porch that was like motion activated, and that light was on, but that person was standing right at the edge of that, on the other side of that light, so she couldn't see who it was or what it was. And but she realized that's where that crying is coming from. It was like a woman. It was a woman. It was sobbing. And so she kind of like, she kind of opened the window, and she was like, are you okay? Do you want to come in? Or it's cold outside, like, what are you doing? Nothing, just that sobbing noise. So she closed the window. She called the police. She said, it's really, really cold outside, and there's a woman standing outside my house, and she's crying like really bad, and I don't know what to do. Like, I think you should come and talk to her or something. So the police did end up showing up, probably 20-30 minutes later. And during that time, she heard the crying move closer to the house, and then around the side of the house, almost like that person or that thing was like, kind of walking next to the house. And so the cop pulls up, and he knocks on the door to talk to them, but nobody came out. They didn't want to actually talk to the police. They just wanted the police to come out and look outside. So he took his flashlight out. He started looking around. He started seeing all these footprints. Like from where she said that thing was standing to the house to around the house. It was these footprints in the deep snow. And he followed the footprints with his flashlight around the side of the house, and then on the left side of the house, probably 50 yards away, is like a tree line. He followed the tracks all the way to the tree line, and then he followed the tree line all the way towards the road, and he was following these footprints. And so the cop, they were watching him. The cop, got to almost, the very end of their driveway, really, really close to the road, and he seen something, and it took off running in the woods. So that cop like looked startled, and he turned around, and he took off running to his vehicle. And this, I don't know if this was a part of it, and she didn't know if it was a part of it either. But like right at that moment, right when the cop got to his vehicle, um, another vehicle started coming down the road. It was like an older white car or something. So the older white car went and just parked a little bit past their driveway. And I think that's where the cop got the idea that that car picked up whoever that was. And so the cop was the white car left, and the cop started following the white car, and the roads weren't very clear. It was 3 a.m, hadn't been plowed or anything. So he followed the car as close as he could, and the car turned off towards Jensen's. Do you know where that is? It's like kind of right off. It's on the Peniel Road. If you turn, there's like a farm right there because that's like the edge of the reservation, and there's a store, and then like a car repair place. That's like the edge of the reservation. So the car turned there, and then the cop turned, and that road wasn't plowed at all, like at all. And then there were no tracks in the snow from that car. And so the cop called that in, like what happened, what's going on. And I don't know if that was a part of it, but that was something that kind of got out as to what happened. And it was on his police report, I guess, that he followed this vehicle, and then there were no tracks. And so anyway, in the morning, they did go out, and this lady and her daughter took pictures of the footprints in the snow around their house. And they were footprints, like bare footprints, bare feet, not a bare foot, but like a human looking foot without shoes on. And the tracks, the footprints were huge. They were very long. She showed me how long the footprints were, and she held her hands out to more than a foot long each. And
Wow.
these tracks went around their house, and the tracks were kind of like almost single file. And the tracks looked the same all the way along the tree line. It was these huge tracks. She told me that her daughter did still have those pictures on her phone, but her daughter is, I think, in South Dakota right now. And that she would show me, whenever she got back.
Wow. Wow. And again, it was 40 below zero, so nobody's going to be out there in their bare feet
Mm-hmm.
in the snow.
I couldn't even believe the cop was outside following the path and the trails of that in the bare snow out there with his 40 below weather.
Yep.
Yeah, it's harsh. When it gets that cold, it is harsh. I know I've been born and raised up here in Minnesota, so you feel like you're more used to it, but Tammy disagrees that you don't get used to that kind of thing.
I can tell you how unused to it you get very quickly when you're not in it anymore.
She moved away to Virginia.
And now I'm not cold. Well, as cold.
Yeah. I don't like to be hot, so I'd prefer to be cold over hot. So that's just the way it is. I'm the ice queen, I guess. So, Tammy, you can be the beach queen. I'll be the ice queen.
I'll take it.
There you go. Well, about the sound of a woman sobbing. Is that something that you've heard before about the potentially being a Bigfoot, Nikki?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is actually. I remember that, I don't know how many years ago it was, probably 10 years ago or more. There was like a huge number of Bigfoot sightings in Red Lake. And it was all over Facebook. People were putting up pictures of, all these footprints and all these tracks. And again, it was during the winter. And that was something that was part of it. was they heard crying. And at that time, people were saying that the elders were saying that when he shows up, or when they show up and they're crying like that, they're trying to tell you that something is going to happen, like something bad is going to happen. I don't know how true that is. And
And did
we,
something bad happen to her after that?
well, yeah,
You don't have to say what.
actually, yeah, actually, yeah, something bad did happen. And I remember people saying, because we had unfortunately, we had a school shooting, on our reservation in 2005, and there were a huge number of sightings and reports of, that crying and seeing Bigfoot and hearing it, and before the school shooting happened. And that was something I heard from several people, several like law enforcement and EMTs also heard that. People were telling them that also.
Kind of like Mothman.
Yeah, it's kind of the same type thing.
Mothman giving a warning. That's interesting. I'm curious about the sounds of Bigfoot crying before the shooting. Did that happen near the school?
Yeah, it happened in the Red Lake community. So,
It did.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. I had not heard that before that I'm aware of. So that's new information for me. That's very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound of a woman sobbing, do you think that was a female Bigfoot?
I don't know. I mean, if I were to, think about it and take a guess, I would say yeah. And she really, like, she felt like it was a woman, and when she called the police, she even said, there's a woman outside, because that's what she just seemed I mean, because it sounded like one, and maybe it kind of looked like one. So yeah, maybe it was, a female Bigfoot. Maybe female Bigfoots do different things than the male ones. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you would think that their voices would sound, when you hear about the growling or the roaring, that
Mm-hmm.
sounds more like a deeper man's type of a voice than a woman's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, if I was just making a educated guesstimate,
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe the female sobbing would be actually a woman or a female Bigfoot. That's what would be my guess, would be right with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even when the sightings were happening in Red Lake, it wasn't just the crying, but there was crying, but there was also, that really manly uh, yelling or roaring that they do. People were hearing that also. And I remember I heard that one time when I lived in Red Lake. I lived like kind of right close to town, and I was outside at like 5 a.m. for whatever reason, and me and my kid's dad heard, that distinctive Bigfoot scream, just like right, pretty close, and we were right in in a really dense residential area, I guess, for the reservation. Um, like there was still forest in between, houses and things, but uh, we heard, the male sounding yell one morning. It was really early. It was just like you hear on, when people record it and they put it on, Bigfoot documentaries and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very eerie sound too. And I can imagine what that would feel like to hear that outside your house.
Yeah. And then like all the dogs just like lost it right after.
What did they do?
They just start barking and like almost like panicky. Like you know how dogs bark when there's a bear or when people are near or things like that. It was almost like they were like um I don't know, scared or really riled up, panicky sounding almost.
Yeah, yeah. I know Wesley told me that he had a Bigfoot stomp past his house by Panema one day, and he said you could it was like everything was like almost shaking, and the dogs were scared and like right up alongside the house, just terrified and being very quiet though. They were scared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I recently was talking to somebody who had borrowed some tree stands to somebody up there by Panema, and
Mhm.
they had gone up there with them to help them set the tree stands up, and then had gone back to retrieve them after they were done using them. And when he went in to retrieve his stands, um, he had some very loud vocalizations going on around him in activity, and he literally laid down and put his hands down on the ground like in submission because he was scared. And
Mhm.
he's like, I'm just here to get the tree stand. I'm just gonna leave. And he wasn't native. He was a non-native who had borrowed these tree stands to somebody from up there. And I asked him to show me where, and he showed me on a satellite imagery of where it was, and it was literally about a mile from where we found that den like structure, Nikki.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I know that they're up there for sure. For sure. So, but he said this one sounded pretty aggressive. And then he said it seemed like it knew after a little bit that he was taking the tree stand away. And then he said it was like whistling a little bit. And he said it sounded more excited that he was taking it away.
Hmm. That's cool.
And he felt like it knew that this was a hunting thing, and he was excited that he was taking it away. And I was like, well, we know there's not a lot of deer up there, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you think, being up there where there's not a whole lot of deer, what do you think their food is? What are they eating up there?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like forageable foods. We have so much, so many trees. The forest is so dense. Right behind my house, I have 5 miles of thick forest before you can meet um, a road that goes to the North Shore. I don't know, have you been to the North Shore of the lake where you can see Upper Red Lake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but between my house and that road is 5 miles of the densest forest that I've ever been in. I walked around there a couple years ago. You wouldn't believe the number of ticks that I had. Probably 40 to 50 ticks on me.
Oh, jeez.
But um, I did go for a walk, and there was some old fire breaks and maybe old logging roads back there. So it was kind of eerie. I walked in about 3 miles, and I thought I would hit the road, and I didn't. I never made it, but I did find some old, roads back there where, I mean, it was beautiful. It was just kind of like you're in the middle of the forest and there's kind of a road, but the road is covered in like moss. And I didn't hear anything. I barely heard any birds. It was kind of eerie, but
That
I'm
is creepy.
I'm not sure what they would eat. We do have deer. I don't know if it's in different parts of the reservation because our deer season actually started on September 15th. Like our deer hunting season starts way, way earlier than the state. And, people have been getting deer. And so there, maybe there's more deer, to the south to the west rather than Panema. I don't really see very many up here, but
Yeah.
other parts of the reservation, and I know a lot of people hunt, out, way out on the western edge of the reservation, and there's, kind of
That's
a
a
lot
lot more
of
area up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a lot of homes out there. It's a lot of
No.
wilderness.
Yeah, there's a few and far between for people who like living away from everybody. There's a house here and there, um, but yeah, and it's pretty empty out west side
It
of the
is.
road.
It is. When I've seen people out hunting, I've seen them hunting out west more than I've ever seen them anywhere else on the reservation, hunting those areas out there that are pretty unpopulated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It is the hunting season different for like the seeded lands too, or
I think it just falls under like whatever our hunting seasons are.
okay.
So we could hunt that area also.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. I love it. We have about 3.5 minutes left. Do you have another story to share?
I'm not sure. I'll have to think on that one.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
story.
Oh, what, you have a story, Tammy?
I do. It actually just happened. And I haven't even shared it with anybody other than the person that was there with me. I was at scuba camp getting my certification last weekend, and everybody was gone except for me and this one other guy. And we were getting firewood over, and we were going to build a fire. And so we walked over to where they had a pile of wood, and we got the wood, and we came back and we started building the fire, and we had just lit it, and all of a sudden there was this noise, and he looks at me and he's like, "What was that?" And I was like, dog? And he's like, no. I'm like, I'm not sure. And it kind of sounded like a dog that had gotten hurt mixed with a much deeper guttural sound. So he's like, I have never heard that in my entire life. And I'm like, well, I think I might have, but I wasn't really sure if it was like Bigfoot or Dog Man. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to freak this guy out. He was only like, I don't know, 22, 23. He was a young guy. And I'm like, I don't want to scare him. So I just didn't say anything to anybody. But then I'm sitting there, I'm like, now I have not ever heard a sound exactly like that. And so I've been trying to find what does Dog Man sound like? And I haven't been able to find any recordings of a Dog Man yet. So I was like, I thought that was really interesting. And, I wasn't really ready to share it with anybody there because I don't think they would have believed me anyway. So, but yeah, that happened last weekend.
Oh, wow. Wow. What do you think, Nikki? Are there any reports of Dogman up on the res?
Not that I've heard, but that's really interesting. I have heard of Dogman before, but I don't know how that would sound either. That's really interesting, Tammy.
Yeah. Well,
we have zero experience personally with Dogman, so I had nothing to base it off of, so I wasn't sure exactly what it was, so I didn't really say anything to him because I didn't know what to say.
right. Right. Did it sound kind of like a dog?
It sounded like a kind of like a dog that might have got hurt, kind of like if it had got like burnt with a piece of ember from the fire,
Oh.
but that mixed with a really deep growly kind of sound, and it was together, and I was like, I just couldn't say what it was because I'd never heard anything like that before.
Huh. And I know you have a lot of experience out in the wild and
Yes, I've
hearing
had
lots
lots
of
of
things.
wild animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to give Nikki the opportunity to tell people how they can reach her because we're at the end of the show. Nikki, if somebody wanted to reach you, how could they do that?
Maybe I could give you my email or
Yeah, that's good. What is your email address?
my email address that I use is NikkiJourdain @hotmail.com.
Hotmail? All right.
I'll put that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I thank you for coming on the show tonight, Nikki, and we really appreciate you. We'll have to have you on another time. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.